quickly discuss what the 2020 Democratic candidates thought about Venezuela. So where do they all stand? The fact that Tulsi Gabbard tweeted the exact same moment, the same day that Donald Trump tweeted. Donald Trump says, we're going to coup d'etat Venezuela, and Tulsi Gabbard stands up and says, no, the U.S. needs to stay out of Venezuela. Very clear cut. There is no other way to interpret it, but she opposes our coup d'etat, our slow motion coup d'etat in Venezuela. So Tulsi Gabbard is definitely leading the conversation on this. Just to kind of give you a couple updates about where we are on Venezuela. So just compare and contrast, right? Saudi Arabia is our best friend. Saudi Arabia is the one that sent a bunch of hijackers to fly planes into our buildings. But we, our government is allies with Saudi Arabia because they're rich in oil, they got a lot of money, and you'd rather have the devil you know than the devil that you don't, right? Some stupid shit like that. So we're supposed to believe that we're intervening into a humanitarian crisis, right? We're the good people. America's the good people. We're going into Venezuela because we want to save them and rescue them because there's a humanitarian crisis. If that was the case, how come we've allowed Saudi Arabia to genocide the shit out of Yemen? There's 40,000 people been dead, so many have starved. So Venezuela has democracy. Venezuela is not committing war crimes. Venezuela doesn't sponsor terrorism. Venezuela doesn't execute political dissidents. Venezuela has massive oil reserves that are not under U.S. economic control. Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, this is Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump is Saudi Arabia's bitch. Yes, he is Saudi Arabia's bitch. Remember that big orb? He was in there, oh, look at the orb. There is no democracy in Saudi Arabia. We need to intervene Saudi Arabia just to get some democracy there. Committing war crimes in Yemen. There's a genocide. It would make sense to invade Saudi Arabia. Sponsors militant Islamic groups. I thought we had a war on terror to go after the terrorists, but instead we're going to support these nations that support the terrorists. Are there any terrorists out of Venezuela? I've never heard of any Venezuelan terrorists. And until we invade, then there will be a whole bunch of them. This will increase terrorism. Saudi Arabia executes political dissidents, even children. Oh, wow. Even murdering children. Good job, America. You got good buddies there. Great ally. But Saudi Arabia has massive oil reserves, which is under U.S. economic control. Well, there you have it. It's about oil. The U.S. government says it's oil. The Venezuelan government, everybody knows it's about oil. And there's also so many people that's opposed to this. 90% of the world is opposed to this. 86% of Venezuela is opposed to this. Only 20% of Venezuelans even know who Juan Guaido was. The situation right now, we got 1,000 troops that were put into Colombia. The Russians have put 500 of their troops into Venezuela. And I've heard people say that the Russians shouldn't provoke Donald. If that's what you're going to run, that's the crazy person theory. You don't want to mess with him because he just might make it worse. If you're giving him power. You're giving him power if you say shit like that. I think it's great that the Russians are in Venezuela. The Venezuelan people, the country of Venezuela would save themselves if they had a nuclear bomb. Because remember the axis of evil, Iraq, Iran, and North Korea? North Korea said, fuck you, we're going to get the bomb, and guess what? Now we're best friends with North Korea, right? Can't wait to be, just love North Korea to death. So if you have a nuclear weapon, you don't get invaded. So having the Russians in there, the Russians are essentially saying you can't invade sovereign nations. You got to listen to international law. And where does international law come from? The United Nations? If that's it, then we got to pay. The United Nations is opposed to this. 90% of the world is opposed to this. China, Mexico, India, Russia. A lot of major nations are opposed to this. Uruguay, Jamaica, Bolivia, CARICOM, ALBA. A lot of countries are opposed to this. So where are the 2020 candidates on this? Bernie said he was for elections, but he wasn't for regime change. Elizabeth Warren opposes sanctions and military intervention, but at the State of the Union, she stood up against socialism. He goes, this country would never be a socialist nation, and Elizabeth Warren stands up, gives a standing ovation. Tulsi Gabbard says, stay out of Venezuela. She is clear. She was clearer than Bernie, clearer than Elizabeth Warren. So Kirsten Gillibrand is for economic sanctions against Venezuela. Gillibrand is for that 35-year-old guy named Juan to run Venezuela. So she's for economic sanctions, right, which is actually what's driving the poverty. It's making everybody starve. That's what Maduro said. Maduro said that it's not a humanitarian situation. It's an economic situation and a political situation. And he said 800,000 people have left, not the 3 million that the U.S. media has been repeating. So people will say that Tulsi Gabbard is too young, right? She's 37 years old. If a 35-year-old Juan can run a country, then a 37-year-old has 2 years more life experience. John Delaney, he opposes military intervention and says sanctions. He supports Juan in the sanctions. So he's right about the military thing, but he's against, he's for the sanctions. He says that the 35-year-old guy named Juan should be the president. Sherrod Brown says he's for elections and denounces loose talk about military intervention. That's all Sherrod Brown's got to say. Cory Booker, Mr. Big Pharma Bro, he says that Maduro is alarming to him on many levels. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Julian Castro, none of these assholes have said shit. Andrew Yang, okay, your universal basic income's great, but where the hell are you on anything else? On war and peace, Schultz? Where's Schultz at? Right? He wants to get a bunch of Starbucks down in Venezuela. What about that Williamson lady, Marianne? I thought Marianne she wants a moral and spiritual awakening. It seems like she would have a peaceful soul. Does that peaceful soul know how to stand up for what's right? None of these people are talking about war and peace. There's 2 litmus tests. You're going to become my president, you're going to give me universal health care, and you're going to end these godforsaken $1 trillion forever wars. If you can't even speak up against it, I'm supposed to trust that you're going to stand up against it when all the media and the society and the pressure, the military-industrial complex comes right upon your head? I'm supposed to trust that you're going to stand up to all that shit when you can't even speak up about it? So, Marianne, I like Marianne. I think that she'd probably be on the right side of history, but they're not speaking about it. He made his announcement 2 fucking weeks ago. Tulsi said something, Bernie said something, Elizabeth said something. All these other assholes, we have to, pick and try to get something out of them. Even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said she was drafting a statement. So when's this statement going to come out? So, yeah, fuck Kristen Gillibrand, fuck John Delaney, fuck Sherrod Brown, fuck Cory Booker, fuck Kamala Harris, fuck Andrew Yang, fuck Schultz, fuck that Williamson lady. I'll give her a pass just for now because I don't know what she thinks, but she needs to speak out about it. So we'll hold on for Marianne and see what Marianne's going to say. And fuck Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, she was right about Venezuela, but then she's clapping against socialism. There's only 2 economic systems in the entire world. And we've had a synthesis of the 2 for the last 70 years since Dwight Eisenhower is building interstates. And we got schools, public schools, and libraries, and parks, and streets, and bridges. Lots of public works. There's police officers, there's fire people, there's jails. All this is paid by tax dollars. So if socialism is government spending, which it really isn't, but government spending, that's all over the fucking place. We've had Social Security literally is a socialist. You are a card-carrying socialist if you have Social Security. Yeah, you paid into it for the old people back in your day. We're paying into it for the old people today. Is it even going to be there for us? Shit. Socialism is everywhere. And if you're going to sit there and just be a dumb fuck and act like it's not, well, you're being stupid. We need a synthesis of both. We need a mind and we need a heart. We need both to care about the community and to care about the individual. And capitalism and communism has their faults, but when you have a synthesis, you put them together, you're caring about the community, making sure not everybody, dies by starvation or not having shelter, freezing to death, having some water, not, dehydrating to death. And then if you want to get up and above basic sustenance level, you go out and hustle. But life, we're guaranteed life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if life isn't guaranteed, we have more freedom when life is guaranteed. We have more freedom when we are guaranteed a job or education. Public school, Jesus Christ. So to stand up and clap against one of the two economic systems when it's common sense that there should be a synthesis. Clearly there should be a synthesis. That's what we've been doing the whole time. And if you want to get real honest, Germany does socialism and capitalism worse or better than we do. They do them both. They can do socialism. Everybody gets paid a decent wage. If they have stress, then they could go to the sauna or the spa for 3 weeks. So they have universal health care. They have free education, even for Americans. They have a place where you can go just, you know, if you're stressed. If you're stressed in America, who gives a shit? You got to keep on plugging, keep on going. You don't get to go to no goddamn spa. So Germany takes care of their people. They're socialist, and they're one of the biggest capitalist economic powerhouses in the world because their workers are taken care of. The workers love going to work. They try to be as productive as they can. So their GDP is through the roof, one of the top 3 economies in the entire world. So their capitalism is kicking our ass, and their socialism is kicking our ass. Our schizophrenia, we're really capitalist? Really, we're capitalist, huh? So how come you're not allowed to sell cigarettes on the sidewalk? What that guy in New York was doing, it was legal, but the cops choked him to death. You can't sell cigarettes? If we're a capitalist society, we're buying and selling all goddamn day everywhere we go. You know, we can't have yard sales, prostitution, drugs. These are illegal, which actually increases their value. Capitalists. We're not, I mean, there's some capitalist aspects, there's some socialist aspects, but we suck. We fucking suck at capitalism, and we suck at socialism. That's why you should vote for Tulsi Gabbard if Bernie doesn't jump in. If Bernie does jump in, just compare and contrast. Who's got the better platforms? Because that's the conversation I want to hear. Who's better between Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard? All the other fucking bullshit, all these neoliberals and neocons jumping in, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to promote the progressives and I'm going to slam the neoliberals because fuck the neoliberals. Peace.